Hey, fellow pastors, McKay here, and I want you to know, and I hope this will be a relief, that you only need one sermon illustration per message. Now, I realize that we're used to having three, four, five illustrations, metaphors, images for our messages. Maybe we start in the introduction, then we have another one for the first point, second, third, maybe one for our application, or a wrap up in the conclusion. And it takes so much time, for one thing, to come up with so many illustrations that we end up spending more time on illustration curation than we do actually working on the content of our messages sometimes. That is, hey, guilty right here. Been there, and I struggled with that for years and years. But what I want to show you is that you only need one, and why that is the case. When you use just one illustration, and I'm going to call it the anchor illustration, when you use that to hold everything together in your message, you're actually giving people a handle where they can carry your message, not just from Sunday to Monday, but to Tuesday and Wednesday, and actually share it with other people. The idea is to introduce this anchor illustration early and then use it in all the parts of your message. Use the same illustration, not in the same way, but different facets of it. Use it for different purposes. For example, in the principle, you will use this illustration to explain the text. You will then use it to expose the problem. You'll use an angle on this illustration to show how Jesus redeems the problem, and then we'll use this illustration to invite people into a response. One example of how this worked is when a pastor in our community was preaching on John 15, union with Christ. And so he used a simple illustration of a cell phone and a battery. He had the congregation actually pull out their phones and look to see what the battery level was. Most batteries were full, but not all were. And the idea was, if your battery is on 10%, 5%, how does that feel? And then he simply pivoted that into the spiritual reality of what it feels like to be fully connected spiritually versus to feel like we're drained spiritually. And then that set up the message, where he used that simple illustration to show how a thriving spiritual life is about spiritual connection. That was his principle. And the problem is how we live spiritually disconnected lives. And that pivoted to the gospel, where Jesus is the one who actually was cut off that we could be connected, that we could be grafted in. And then the response to this is simply, because you are now connected to the Father through Jesus, you don't have to live on 2%. You don't have to have the fear of being cut off. And all the benefits and applications of this could then be discussed in a way that was grace motivated, love saturated for the people who were connected, as well as spirit empowered. And all of this because of one simple illustration. I mean, talk about stickiness in a sermon. And it gives them, like we've said, that handle for the message, that they can take it with them and they can share it with others. And if you need help with this, Preach 360 is designed to walk you through the process of finding the anchor illustration and then weaving it throughout your message. It doesn't do the work for you. It's like a Socratic coach, asking the right questions along the way to help you build out a message that is going to be uniquely grace-fueled for your people, and one that'll have a handle that they can remember. My name is McKay again. Look forward to seeing you next time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and visit preach360.com.